Today's a bit of a blustery day. It's raining out, it's windy, and it's not the best day for going outside and enjoying the woods. So what I thought I would do is take 5 of my Scandinavian ground blades and put them to the test, practicing feather sticks on different materials and seeing which knife performed the best. So for today's experiment, I'm going to use 5 blades. So let's see. I think we'll use this, 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 and this. So the 5 knives I chose to use today are what I think are somewhat representative of what most people will be using in terms of a Scandi ground blade. So here I have the Tops Bob, the LT Wright Jessmuk, the LT Wright Genesis, the Helle Gaupe, and the Mora Companion. So as I've mentioned in the past, I generally leave my knives coated in a food grade grease, and so at this point I'm going to clean these bad boys up, tune up the edge to make sure that they're all in perfect slicing order, and then we'll get started with a little bit of fun. So now that they're cleaned up a little bit, let's take a quick look at the quality of the edge. All my knives are used. I mean, I use them all quite a bit, and so, you know, they've gone through a little bit of abuse. This is the Bob. The edge is pretty good. I can see some, you know, imperfections for sure. So before we get started, I'll strop this and see if I can get the edge to just be a little bit finer, a little less of that chunky, sort of chunky look. You can see right on the edge, just some little imperfections, but I should be able to clean that up a bit. And on the other side, let's see here. Looks pretty good. You'll notice I've taken the coating off of this knife, so, you know, keeping a coat of grease on it is very wise at this point. Here's the JX2. I've seen this before. This edge is pretty good. It's not perfect, but I mean, this is one of my newest blades, so you know, it's certainly seen the least amount of work, and the edge should be pretty well refined. I do have a couple of little nicks from playing around, but no big deal. I'll give it a little strop just to clean it up, and we'll get her going. Here's the Genesis. I've used this knife quite a bit, and you'll see by the edge, it used to have a nice mirror polish from the factory, but I got some swirl marks in it now from my ceramic rod. You know, one of the things that I was realizing was as I was stropping the edge, it was losing its sort of zero ground nature and almost developing a secondary bevel, which you can kind of see the way the light's catching. There's a fine little secondary bevel now on the bottom, and so you know, I tried to change my sharpening technique to get it back towards that zero grind, and that's where the swirls came from. Here's the Helle Gaupe. Now this is the only blade I'm using today that's a stainless. All the rest of them are carbon steel. This thing is absolutely ridiculously razor sharp, almost in perfect condition. I've used this, but not a whole ton. I haven't really taken it out into the woods yet. I've pretty much just used it for some cooking tasks and some real light carving around the house. But you know, I haven't yet really brought it out into the woods, so I expect this to perform mighty nice. And finally, my Mora Companion. This thing has been used and abused. I have used this for a couple of years now, and as you can tell by the edge, that it seriously needs to be polished and stropped and tuned up. So I'll put a bit of work into this Mora, try to get it back at least to some resemblance of acceptability, and hopefully this will be able to perform equally well to the rest of the blades.
You up and whispered in your ear, come home, I know what you have seen. We both know that it was not a dream. It weighs heavy in the evil game. Be not ashamed if you can't cry.
So I believe this is considered to be an ultra fine ceramic rod. You'll notice that I've gone through a couple of different stages of using the leather strop, both on the 1x30 belt sander with the Serger Sharp leather strop belt, and also on this Work Sharp field sharpener. The reason why I start with the strop, and I've explained this before, but I'll just reiterate my point, which is I like to start with the least aggressive methods that I have first and try to reestablish my edge, feel what it appears to be like if there's any additional imperfections, and then I go to a slightly more aggressive method. So in this case, as I'm using the strop, I can still feel that there's some little burrs that I'm trying to get out. And now I'll go to my ceramic rod, try to pull out those burrs, and then re-hone the edge using the leather. Sharpening's all about feel. Understanding the blade geometry, how your own mechanics work. You need to take into consideration your grip and your position, where you're holding the knife, where it is in relativity to your body and to your eye, so that you can establish a good feel. And it takes a while. In fact, buying a Mora right off the get-go is pretty smart because it's cheap, it's reasonably forgiving, and it gives you a good opportunity to practice before you start sharpening your high-end blades. I just work the ceramic rod until I don't feel any more imperfections. Once I get it to that point, and I'm happy with the way the blade feels running down the ceramic rod, I'll go back to the strop.